Get ready to see Charlie Kirk destroy an entitled, far-left, socialist college student. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. I know you're going to like it. A lot of these socialists, as I'm sure you guys know, like to get into this whole intellectual word salad and call you a hypocrite because, I don't know, you think that it's not socialist to have police, for instance. It's really quite incredible. So we're gonna get right into it, guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But first, everybody, help me out, okay? Like our video, share it around, and if you're new, subscribe to the Resistance Mainstream YouTube channel so we can keep bringing you guys these great clips. As always, everybody, I'm your host, Arian. Let's get ready to see a commie get crushed, metaphorically.
What's up?
Sorry, I assumed your gender. I assumed,
no, you're good, bro.
Yeah.
I'm not tripping. So I was just agreeing with you said socialism is non-American. So what do you think is pro-American?
Well, let's define what socialism is, right? Socialism is the government confiscation of private property. It tends to be the rule of the few, not the many, even though they profess to say it's the rule of the many. But the American, let's just say, economic tradition is private property rights, markets with proper restraint, entrepreneurship, the ability to flourish, trade, create new products. Socialism disincentivizes almost all those things. Socialism is built largely on envy and greed. And hilariously, the people that push for socialism, the rank and file, they don't realize that socialism actually just creates an oligarchy. It doesn't actually create a strong middle class, what they allege, to want.
So do you believe in taxes?
Ideally 10% across the board. Yeah.
Okay, so you believe in the confiscation of people's private property?
At some point it depends on if it's private property income or if it's necessary to fund government services.
But that's still a confiscation with a gun through police if you don't
at
pay.
around 10% to fund public services,
but you just
the military.
Find socialism as taking private property.
Well, hold on. The average tax rate in a socialist type environment, and even this country, is what, 55%?
Yeah, but I'm saying taxes in general. That's private property.
So taxation is theft. I fully acknowledge a moderate form of something I hate in order to fund a government, police, firefighters, EMT as necessary.
But that's still a government confiscating private property, which you said was socialism.
Yes, but you vote for it and you agree with it. I mean, I'm not an anarchist.
Why do I
never
agree?
have been.
Well, I'm an anarchist. I say any form of government existence is
that's
socialism.
Fine. Have you ever called the...
Oh boy, says he's an anarchist. Okay, something I've really noticed with a lot of these kind of weird, strange, far left types is, and also, frankly, sometimes people on the right too, I'm gonna be honest about this. There's this obsession with ideological purity where they have to follow a certain ideology, and any deviation from that, whether the person that they're calling out subscribes to it or not, makes them a hypocrite or inconsistent, etc. Case in point here, well, you believe in some form of government, therefore you're supporting socialism. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Something that people like this guy just don't seem to realize is that when you get so deeply steeped in these kinds of ideologies, you fail to see, frankly, reality and just basic practical things that people have to consider. I used to be pretty illogical myself. I'd always be obsessed with slapping a label on it and following the ideology for that label, whether it was libertarian, conservative, conservatarian, whatever, any of those things. And at some point, as I matured a bit more, I came to realize something very simple. The only question we should be asking when discussing any kind of political policy is, how will this benefit the American people? And if it doesn't benefit the American people, why are we entertaining a discussion? It doesn't even make any sense. Speaking of helping the American people, Biden has done such a bad job about that with his inflation, and it has gotten out of hand, guys. And that is why I have decided to invest in gold, and I think you should too. Everybody, we have decided to partner with Goldco. It's a great company, highly rated, great customer service. You can invest in precious metals there. They're there to help you. White glove treatment, okay? And you can roll over your IRA and 401k penalty and tax free. Yes, you heard that right. So check it out, everyone. Go to rtmgold.com. You can click the link in the description or type in your web browser. You can even get a free gold kit to help you make this decision because you know it's a big one. So check it out, everybody. Go to rtmgold.com. You can click the link in the description or type in your web browser. rtmgold.com.
Cops?
No, I don't believe. I don't like cops. They don't like me.
Okay, you ever gone to hospital?
No.
Okay, well, one day when you go to hospital or you use the social service you paid for.
I'm saying you define socialism as a confiscation of private property, and you're saying that you believe in taxes, which is a confiscation of private wages.
Let me go for the unreasonable confiscation of private property, the elimination of private property altogether. You can have a 10% tax rate.
That's not socialism.
Well, they could be conflated. The one is a gateway drug to the other. I mean,
Okay, but the middle ground
Lenin said
is
that socialism is a precursor to communism.
Okay, but
so.
they're still different. If it's a gateway drug,
They're
meth
both
is not
both
weed.
garden varieties of Marxism. Would you agree? They're
Yeah,
both,
I agree
okay,
with that.
all
But
right.
I'm saying weed is not meth, so let's talk about weed. That's still a confiscation. If you're saying it's a confiscation
No,
of
one is better, one is worse, and
Okay,
one is
yeah, but if we're talking about socialism,
more lethal.
you defined it at the beginning as the confiscation of private property.
Yes, correct.
It's also collectivized use. Do you believe in public schools?
No, I mean, ideally, I think they should be more community-based and more volunteerism.
Okay, but
to
you
be
believe in
honest,
them in some level, right?
Well, I mean, again, this is overly abstract and academic. We live in a society where we have.
You believe in public schools? You filthy communist. Seriously? At the end of the day, we have to deal with public schools whether we like them or not. And by the way, they suck. And that is coming from somebody who is a lifelong public school kid. I would never put a kid in it. And I recommend you do the same.
Have government schools, we have public schools, so we could talk about what we want
I know,
or
but,
what is
but
actually.
if we're talking about what is anti-American, what is pro-American, in the existence of what you say is American, would you say public schools are part of being American? Would you say that's
Well, no,
part
they
of
are.
America's
I mean,
identity?
the public school system was started by John Dewey 100 years ago. We
I mean,
survived without it for
like
quite a while.
what was it? During the signing of the Constitution, which the Federalists strongly supported. They were part of federalism was having a strong central
Yes,
government.
but
I would
the
say it sounds like
Federalists
socialism to
today
me.
would be like libertarians.
Okay,
just so
but
we're
that's
clear.
still
But
that's still a
they
strong
wanted a
central
small
government.
but strong
But
federal
strong
government.
central government still sounds like socialism to me.
Hold-
And that's
see, this is very sloppy intellectual thinking. That just because we want a police force, a border patrol, and we want clean streets, all of a sudden we become a socialist.
But those are still social
There is a
services.
spectrum between small and strong government and like Soviet-style communism.
but we're not talking about that. We're talking about socialism.
Right.
And
so
as
not,
you define
not,
socialism,
not
it's a
every
confiscation
form of
private
government is
property.
socialism. Would you acknowledge that?
No, I don't.
Okay, then.
But you define at the
that's
beginning
intellectually
of this.
lazy.
No, you defined at the beginning
No,
of this as social. You
and I've-
offered a definition.
I've
that
offered
socialism
more
was the
nuance to that.
confiscation
I will
of private
say
property.
it is the unreasonable confiscation of.
Well, what? How do we
of wealth.
quantify unreasonable? What is unreasonable?
That's up to the politics to do. I'd say anything above 10%.
What if Charlie said to this kid, if the US government bombs the Middle East, engages in American imperialism and the like, whatever you want to call it, that is socialism? I bet you he'd cry foul and say, no, 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 no. That's not socialism. But with his definition, socialism is essentially anything the government does. That's socialism. So having a state or a government means you're socialist. It doesn't even make any sense. It's totally incoherent.
How do you define? So
I
above
said 10%. Where I get it from the Bible. Makes sense. 10%
Okay.
of 10% of what you earn, 10% of what you have goes to either to tithe or to God or to some sort of taxation system.
So just based
Again,
on
that's
the Bible,
my position. We can
your
disagree
position,
on that.
Okay, so your
But-
position is based only at 10%. At 11%, it's now socialism. It is socialism.
No, I'm not saying it's socialism. It gets close. It gets further away from
Then
what it is.
Where's
I mean,
the line? What is socialism?
What is the taxation line? How about
Yeah,
this?
if you're
Socialism is you cannot own the property that you desire.
But you're
And
talking
we're
about me
getting-
being intellectually
how about
lazy.
this?
I'm saying let's have a
So
stringent
let me
definition
actually
of
give you a
what is
real example.
socialism.
California is more socialist. Texas is less socialist. That's a
Okay,
spectrum.
But I want
Would
to
you
know
agree with
when
that?
does socialism begin and when does it end? And I'm saying
It-
you're
it-
saying
it's-
that some level
it's
of
not like
socialism
an entrance
is, but no, but
into
if you're saying
Narnia.
if you're
It's like
saying
I'm all of a
socialism
sudden
is
here.
anti-American, I'm saying
it's a
socialism
spectrum.
is a part of America.
Okay, so you want to
even
know when socialism begins and
Yeah.
when it ends?
Yeah.
When you leave the free state of Florida and
Okay,
you
but
enter the unfree state of
what's,
New
what's
York,
the tax rate in Florida then?
0.
No,
The income tax in Florida is 0.
You still have to pay taxes though.
Federal
You
taxes.
still have to pay federal
no
taxes.
no corporate
But if
income tax, no
but-
personal income tax.
But you still have to pay federal taxes. So if you have to pay taxes at all, it sounds like Florida's a socialist state.
No, well, if we're using your definition, it sounds like the federal government is a socialist state, which, I mean, maybe a case can be made for that given who's running it right now. I don't know. But that's not an indictment against Florida. Florida is just a state existing in the US. They have to do what they got to do. Doesn't even make sense.
But yeah, so are you trying to say America's currently socialist?
Yes, that's what
okay,
I'm saying.
I would agree. We're going more in that direction. So,
Okay, but then you were saying that it's
socialism
not. You're
goes
saying Florida's not
socialism is
socialist, and now you're
beyond
saying-
taxes, though.
But wait, you just said that America is socialist, but you said Florida's not socialist. So Florida's part
Well,
of America. That doesn't make sense.
Hold
to
on,
me.
but you pay 20% more taxes here in California than you do in Florida. Yes.
But
So, what if my dad's a commie? Does that make me a communist too? Just saying.
they're both socialist.
No, but the federal project right now is more socialist than it is free market. Yes.
Okay, yes.
But in Florida, you get at least some gasp of liberty and freedom that you do not have. In California, if you're a top income earner, you're not paying 15% in addition to a 38% federal income tax rate. That's 53%. That is the government owns a majority of your labor.
Yeah.
So to be even more clear, the closer you get towards the government owning a majority of your labor and your goods, the further and further closer you get to socialism. California is that.
Yeah.
Now, I would love for the federal government to get rid of FICA tax, to get rid of, the excess income tax. I've been clear. I think 10% across the board, fine. We need a military. You might not agree. We need a police force. We need a border patrol. We need basic social services that are a safety net, not a hammock. But I do not believe in this over-the-top type taxation. If you want to talk about other types of taxation that everyone here is paying, it's inflation.
But
when you borrow $2 trillion a year, you do not have, you're getting 10% poorer every single year. I'm going to get to the next question because you keep on saying the same thing over and over again. But
I'm just
final
saying,
point.
I don't understand how you can say that socialism is anti-American when even the most pro-American, I think, as you would define, like, would you say Florida's pretty pro-American?
Yeah, I mean, they have no income tax.
But the thing is, if they still have taxation,
no, they have they're part of the federal government.
If taxation is part of America, and it always has been,
but no, it hasn't.
Always been part of America.
So since you're such a wise guy, how did we fund the government for the income tax?
Through taxation, but I say that's socialist.
Tariffs. We didn't have an income tax till 1917. So I'm going to get to the next person. You should do more studying on American taxation. And there's a spectrum.
I think you should define socialism more
Not every
strongly.
form of government is socialism.
Boom. Ron Paul, love the guy, said the exact same thing as Charlie Kirk way back in the day, pointing out that the U.S. federal government had no taxes since 1917, income tax, and that we should go back to that. Funnily enough, PolitiFact fact-checked Ron Paul and said he was a liar, even though it's an objectively true and provable statement. Funny how that works. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please comment below. Let us know what you liked about the video, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and we'll see you guys again very soon. Thanks for tuning in, and God bless.